Hello, everybody. On today's episode, I am very excited to speak to this woman. She is a pros pro in the spirit world. It was a very synchronistic way in which I heard about her. Through a series of events, I came across one podcast of spiritual people in Philly, where I'm from, and they had on several guests from Philly in a row. And this guest stuck out more than any other because of the phrase etheric surgery. Everybody, welcome Amy Spicer to the show. Welcome, Amy.
Todd, that's awesome. I feel like in front of an audience.
Yeah, I like to get the audience feel, because when I started doing it myself, I'm like, I'm not good at this. Like I'm just talking to myself. I don't know how to do this.
Right? But I feel like everyone deserves a round of applause. So
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
I haven't gotten a round of applause in a while. So thanks.
Well, there you go. Much deserved, I'm sure.
Well, thanks. Thanks for the really kind introduction too. Wow. I'm
Yeah.
honored.
Uh, I'm honored to have you on my show. So I heard you on Juliet Root and her husband Mackie have a podcast called the WooCast.
Yeah.
And they just moved out of Philly, but they were living in Philly for a while. And I just came across them through another podcast, and then I find out that you are in Philly. And when you guys are talking about etheric surgery, I'm like, wait, hold the phone. Like, firstly, like I'm from Delaware County, so you know the connection of being Philly already was like, okay, that's cool. And then the etheric surgery, I'm like, oh, hold on. I have etheric surgery all the time, and I ask people. I go into different spiritual Facebook groups, and I'm like, does anyone know about etheric surgery? And nobody can tell me like anything about it. And I'm just like, well, I'm curious about this. And then I heard you talking about that you have a team with you of spiritual guides, and they kind of direct things. And I'm like, oh wow, that is amazing, because it just happens to me. I don't have to call anyone in or do anything. It just happens. So you are probably more well versed in the topic than I am.
You've been doing it a while, but everyone has their own etheric surgical team. So I call in when I work with a client, I'll call in my team members that help specifically for this, because everybody has a very large team and they rotate. It's like a big game of kickball. People take turns when it's their turn to be in and out of your reality or whatever. But I'll then call in your team, and very specifically your etheric surgical team. Why do I do that? It helps me see inside other people's, so I can almost see their tissue completely. So when I remote view into someone's home, it's one thing. You can see, their yellow vases and this and that. But then you can see inside someone's body. You can almost see where prana isn't moving. Then there's another layer. It looks like an architect, like with if I was building a building. Here's the plumbing, here's the electrical work, here's the duct work, here's the whatever, the scaffolding, whatever. So when I need an etheric surgical team, it helps me interweave electrical programs or belief systems that have anchored into biological systems that then trigger hormonal reactions. So I have to see all of these layers at once, and it gets confusing because now we're looking at time, their timelines. And when I see inside a human, it doesn't look like their time doesn't run linearly. I can't say that word, linearly. Is that a word? Whatever. Anyway, so it looks like, because you know how the sun is on its own track, or the earth is on its own track around the sun. So it looks like there's only 365 days ever inside a human, but they're just stacked on top of each other. So like all January 1st are in a segment, all January 2nds. So it looks like all of their January 1st that they've experienced trauma-wise are on top of each other. So it's almost like Jenga. I can move things around that way, but it happens so fast that I need more people or more quote unquote hands on deck. It literally looks like a surgical team in a hospital. You know how there's one surgeon and there's like 75,000 accessory people in there holding things back and lifting things and clamping and moving. That's what it feels like, because I need someone to pin what I see, so it almost highlights inside of someone, so I can figure out if it's a program that we can collapse and remove, if it is a program that we can meld and maybe change or tweak without spiritually bypassing, or if it is literally a karmic timeline in which they're just here to play out. Some people are on a mission. Same way I feel like I'm on a mission. They're just on a mission to be here right now, and you can't move it at all. It's just where they are in their movie. And those are really anchored in. So I can hear questions like, well, can't you time hop? You can time hop off of a timeline in which isn't serving you and still keep a base program of what your quote unquote role is to do here. So if there's a timeline in which there's extreme suffering, or you're really hooked into low abundance or poverty or drug addiction or whatever, even though that is happening, if you're meant to be a healer, you're going to stay a healer. If you're meant to be an artist, you're staying a artist. So we can timeline hop you off of the addiction thing, but we're still going to be a healer and not an addict, or we're still going to be an artist and no longer struggling with abundance. So I need a lot of team members to help me keep everything organized, because it happens like that. And earlier, you and I were talking before, and I want to ask you to explain that more, because it's fascinating, because I do it to people. I don't know what it feels like. Well, I know what it feels like when they do things to me, but I want to hear what it feels like to you. The people usually can tell. They're like, oh my gosh, I can feel you in my gut. Like I can feel you in my stomach right now. And it's, startling. You can feel me pushing around, even though I'm 100 miles away from you.
So that is so amazing that you see it that way, because I see time the same way. I don't want to say time, but yeah, I guess that way with the 365, everything's one day, and that's why people can look into the future exactly 1 year ahead, 2 years ahead, 3 years ahead, etc., because you're on the same wavelength already.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yes.
I've seen that. So the way that I was shown how time, not how time. See, it's the word time isn't efficient for what I'm going to say, but the way that creation was started was, it was emotions first, that we experience every happy emotion, then every sad emotion, then every angry, and it goes in a linear fashion from birth to death, but you're
Okay.
just only experiencing that same emotion the entire time from birth to death. And you don't experience the mundane stuff that we do, because now we're time hopping, essentially time hopping through the emotional states on a daily basis. And even in a moment to moment basis, you go from emotion to emotion. So we're combining all of them together. Well, that's for me anyway. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm going through these mundane motions because I have to be patient and experience every emotion that's ever been felt by me,
Mhm.
uh, you know, from birth to death and all those other timelines, essentially. And then now I have to experience all of them in the way that they happened.
Okay.
So that's what linear time is for
Okay.
me.
Okay. Wow, that could I could see how that could, if you are not solid in your relationship with divinity, how some of the heavier vibrations behind some of those emotions could make you get lost in this realm quickly, because it's very hard to hold the feeling of jealousy for 365 days straight, or the feeling of emptiness, sorrow, those real heavy ones. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so mine isn't necessarily that it's 365 days straight. So it's like when you're a small child and you have your first happy moment,
Mhm.
And then you go to the next happy moment. So it's not that you're experiencing everything in that happy space. You're just only experiencing the happy times through that life.
Okay, okay, so that's how they're sectioned off for you. I see.
Yeah. So
Okay,
it's like a line of music, like sheets of music,
yeah,
and now we're roller coasting between the different lines of music.
I see. Okay. How does it feel for you to have etheric surgery done? And
So
and and also how, like, what are some of your purging or release symptoms? And then how long does it take for you to recover? And I know I'm asking a lot because I want to know all these things. And um, do you feel exhausted?
I used to. So early on, I used to feel like I was getting zapped by something, and I would have to fall asleep for 10 minutes, 20 minutes in the afternoons usually. And I could feel the first time I felt it happen to me was right after I got my kitten. She's a cat now, but right after I got her, when I got a certain distance to my apartment, I my crown chakra would start throbbing, and it was like, oh, maybe that's what pets feel when the owners are coming close. Like that's how they know they're about to be home because their brain starts throbbing.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so mine would do, and I'm a truck driver, so I have a lot of empty mind times that I'm just driving, and I usually listen to podcasts now, but sometimes I'll turn off the TV. I mean, not the TV. I'll turn off the music completely, or I'll just drift off into my own thoughts. So it happens to me. I mean, it'll happen to me at just different random times, but sometimes it'll be like 5 days in a row, it'll be at 11 o'clock exactly that I'll start to feel it, and, it happens to me so often that it was only putting me to sleep for probably about 3 or 4 months, and they would come in and probably do big things to me, so that's why I had to be put to sleep, and I was so low vibrational that I couldn't withstand it. And then I started noticing that when people would be in the car with me for 5 minutes, children especially, they would fall asleep. Like my daughter's friends, they would fall asleep in that because they were having it on them, just by being in the car with me and my daughter. Uh, and I mean, it would happen to my daughter. It still happens to her, and it's really incredible. So what I feel now is I'm at the point that it'll happen for 2 weeks in a row. It's like a team is going in,
Yeah.
and like if someone's doing construction on the roads, and there's a lot of construction going on the roads that I live in, I can see that they're doing that to me. They're the etheric surgeons, that they're fixing these different exits, and I can pinpoint when they do work. I'm like, oh, they're fixing the bridge today because the bridge of my nose is I can feel little cranes lifting up a little piece of steel and just the whole creation. I can feel all of it and it's quite amazing.
That is so cool. They my my team talks a lot about how people have ringing in their ears, and they talk about how there is such a fine line between stress creating ringing in your ears and ringing in your ears very specifically to just um, sensitize you to higher frequencies. Like it is, um, and it's a thin line. It's a very thin line. So when I work with people and they're chronically have tinnitus, I think that's what that's called. Um, my first thing is you got to first unstress, and second, you have to have faith. You have to have faith that this is happening for your highest interest. Either it's trying to tell you you're extremely stressed, or you're about to be able to hold emotions in a much different fashion. There's a very interesting part of, and I am not busting on pharma at all. I work in the pharma industry. My kid has type 1 diabetes. It saves his life. But there is a very specific frequency of energies that I work with that are trying to speed up the mass healing of people so that they're able to hold more intense emotions, because reality is getting more and more intense, and humans are just numbing out more and more and more. So we have to get people online faster to be able to process the crazy amount of fear that the regular world has right now. In fear, we numb so quickly to fear. And so this is what I want to do all day long. I want to help people expand that container so we don't have to numb out as hard.
Have you ever come across uh, certain dark entities, whether human or something else, that are causing the ringing in the ear?
Oh yeah.
Like these mass shootings, that there's a lot of suspects, that the ones that live, that talk about they were hearing voices, they would hear ringing in their ears. And it's odd that you bring this up, because on Twitter yesterday someone wrote, "I've had ringing in my right ear 3 days in a row," and I did too. And it was, he posted, I just had it for the third time 2 minutes ago, and I had it at that exact moment, and I'm like, and then I tap into my guides, and I get that. So they told me two of the ringings were earthquakes, but the third one was different. It was something was purposely trying to tap into my mouth of God chakra, which, for the audience, that is your ninth chakra. It's behind your head, behind the back of your brain, is your mouth of God chakra. And my guides told me that there is a technology that's shooting a low vibrate or high vibrational frequency through my mouth of God chakra to make my right ear ring, because it's supposed to trigger something. But I've been taken offline by my guides, and that's not available to happen to me anymore.
Wow, that's okay. Very cool. I have definitely seen I've seen it a little differently. Um, when entities get stuck to a human, it creates such and we're talking about these really dark ones. It
Mm.
creates such turmoil in their emotional state, their biological state, and then usually their home, that it creates stress as well. So that stress will cause a ringing. Usually entities that are like the real dark ones, um, create incredible suffering. Those people will come, they'll have massive suicide programs on, they'll have massive cutting. I get a lot of cutters that just want to inflict pain to give, energy bumps. It's like a hit to whatever is attached to it. Um, the entities I have dealt with, the people will say there's a voice and it sounds kind of like my voice and it tells me to do these things, and it's me but lower. It is a really gritty version of your ego, um, and it's not you. It's like it's a grit version of your ego. It's incredible, and they're really hard to get off of someone, because the only way that I personally can get a real dark entity to leave is through triggering unbelievable reverence and love in that person.
Mm-hmm.
To and it's very hard. So if you are addicted or really programmed at that moment, because you're being triggered by an outside force to only feel these self-inflicted pain or to create pain upon somebody else, it's really hard to hold reverence for that. And so it's tricky to kind of flush somebody with a feeling of complete gratitude towards whatever was attached to it. And usually then they start to, I can kind of see where they entered in, where they uploaded, because it looks like a file transfer system on your computer. If you want to drag and drop a file, that's basically what it looks like. Then you can kind of pull it out that way.
That's amazing, because so earlier you said that, how do I purge? So uh, I I didn't have to necessarily purge on a regular basis. I don't purge anything. It's just I feel like it's more that they're fixing things that were broken on my etheric body. So
Okay.
you know how we have the four bodies. So I felt it that they were fixing. You know, like my ankle got broke when I was a kid, and it was shown like, oh, that's because from different past lives. You weakened it by doing this action caused you to physically have this and so on and so forth, creating karma to the point that then it was easy enough for me to break my physical leg or ankle. So I feel that everything's being repaired so that I can't have anything physically harm me in the same sense that it once did.
Okay.
And I've purged demons out of me. What I call a demon, and I call a demon. It's not that it was in something that I saw. Like a lot of people get the image like a bat or like a cartoon-ish type thing or a ghoul. But to me, a demon is just an energy that is feeding itself, and it doesn't, and it's just it's taking whatever energy it can in whatever way it can get. So it gets along with you and it becomes part of you. So then it gets you to then, say you're a drug addict and you have a boyfriend or girlfriend who's a drug addict, and now you're a drug addict together. But it was that energy that first sucked you into it, then you suck someone else into it, and then that's now it's feeding itself, and it's really hard to get rid of. So
Mhm.
I've did ayahuasca and I purged, but nothing came out, and that was weird, but that's an expected thing. But then in January, I had this injury where I fell, and 400 pounds of chicken and cheese fell on top of me, and I fell on my what I say my root chakra,
Chicken cheese. First, did you just say chicken cheese?
chicken and cheese.
Oh,
Because I'm a truck driver and I was delivering it, so it
oh,
was So it was like 400 pounds of chicken and cheese that fell on me. Uh,
oh God.
yeah, and I landed on my root chakra, which is the very bottom bone in your ass. I always say the root chakra, and someone's like, "Where's the root chakra?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's the very bottom." Like everyone thinks your tailbone. There's two bones past that. Is your root chakra. I mean, it's like all the way down at Uranus because it's the planet Uranus, that's where it correlates. That's your root chakra. So I landed on that, and what happened is I saw at the same time that this is happening to me, I saw my root chakra crack open. With my eyes open, my third eye is seeing this. That my root chakra cracked open, and all this psychic sludge started drooping out. And then the root chakra was so damaged that they just cut it off, and they put a new one on, and they had to blow it in place like hot glass. They had to blow it in place, and it was very sore for a couple weeks. But since then I've been like super strong, and my back is like I'm seriously like 3 times stronger than I was before the injury. And so that weekend I started, for no reason at all, the day before the injury I started thinking that I should burn tobacco in fires because I have fires in our backyard. So I started doing it that the day of my injury. I did it that entire weekend, and I made this special tea on Sunday, and I drank. And it's not psychedelic tea, but I drank a bunch of tea, and throughout the day, and it didn't hit me until all it hit me all at once at night, and it was like, oh man, I drank too much tea, and I was going to go to bed. So me and my daughter were joking around. I was in a real goofy mood, and I was started laughing real hard. The two of us were laughing real hard, and I got really sick. I felt so. I went to my bedroom, and my girlfriend then made me laugh in there, and that's when I had to run, and I was so injured by this injury, by what happened to me on Friday. It was probably the worst pain in my life. Like how I felt that I was handicapped. I felt that I was paraplegic. I couldn't feel my legs when it happened. I had to slide myself out. I couldn't feel my legs at all. And so this is now 2 days later, and I had to run to the bathroom. And took two big hurls, and nothing came out. But then I see, I felt so so relieved, and I had the intuitive thought that I've been saved by Christ, that I've reached, and I was in the state of nirvana, what Buddhists call nirvana, for 10 days. And I saw a snake was trying to swallow my third eye, which is my turquoise, is my birth month. I saw a turquoise crystal, which I see as my third eye, and there was a snake trying to swallow it. But instead of the snake being inside me, I was inside the snake and it spit me out. And that's why when I purged, I was being thrown up. It wasn't that I threw up something, it was I was thrown up by something else.
Holy crap. That is hell. I mean, the rest of us are just sitting around watching reruns of Modern Family, and you're getting thrown up by snakes. This
Yeah.
is yeah, I cannot do any psychedelic drug at all because I am petrified of that kind of stuff. I see so much weird
Yeah,
crap.
it wasn't psychedelics either.
No, yeah, I can't. Whoa, wow,
Yeah.
Todd. So now you feel just completely online.
Oh
Like
yeah, I'm
your senses
completely
are,
aligned. Yeah, I've had, I mean, each one is its own huge story, but I had all my chakras cracked open, not in the same physical sense,
mhm,
but I've had very dramatic things, visions occur where I see all my. It was like I was wearing a tuxedo, and one by one they were. It would take a few weeks, but they were being cracked open, and I could feel it was like a dress was blowing in the wind, and I
mhm,
feel that it's like up around here now. That it's like my this skin
mhm,
that I was wearing that wasn't me.
mhm,
It's flapping in the wind. It's about to be ripped off, uh,
mhm.
and whatever that is. But each chakra, I mean, it's been, I've been able to predict things because based on the, the pattern that was going on. And I did it to my mom, who thinks I'm a crazy person, and
Yeah,
and she was like, "Oh, what?" Like she was just floored by it.
that's a whole other topic. My
Yeah,
kids think I'm crazy too.
yeah, of course.
So,
But it was funny you said that the love is the only way to get rid of it, because it was the laughing that finally did it. I mean, there were the other little things that happened, but it was the love and laughter that triggered it. And I've also released, it's a whole nother story, but I released one from my daughter by months of being loving towards her when she was. I would have on music that talks about Jesus, and
mm,
and she was berating me, making me saying the most hateful things, and I knew that there was something going on with her, and I got it off of her. But it ends up coming back because she ends up inviting it back in by listening to certain music like Billie Eilish, uh, or doing certain actions, because it's always something that's hanging around us. And if we're making these free will choices to let them in because we think they're going to help us, then I mean, there's not much we can do.
so how old is your daughter?
She'll be 12 in a few days.
Okay, so you still own part of her grid. You still own a I do a lot of cord cutting. This is going to be a broad topic. I'll try and make this as specific as possible. I do a lot of cord cutting on humans. So Todd is, there's what, we have 23 pairs of chromosomes, 46 of these things. 23 are direct, um, they're direct, basically templates from your mom, 23 are from your dad. So you are literally an amalgamation of two other biologies. You are not your own thing. Because of that, your mom and dad have grid uploads and downloads. They have cords basically in the females. It's like in your right and left ovary. Like I can see where you know how chakras look like those little winter. They almost look like little vortexes or little hurricanes. You can see them on either men's testes or women's ovaries, that they will have access points to upload and download information. So you still have access completely to upload and download into your daughter to go and block her. So how some entities talk to me about how they get in. Because everyone has a frequency, right? You have one frequency. It's like your thumbprint to Andromeda or the source star, whatever you want to say. But we have multiple vibrations. Vibrations we can mimic. There's sound waves, infrared waves, whatever. If I was to send you my coordinates where I was located, if you were to come and find me according to like NASA, my code would like my coordinates would be like 23.1.5 northwest, south, whatever. Your daughter on her has an exact pin location where that vibration of that entity, that very specific one, just figured out how to mimic the frequency and vibe. So the frequency, the downward moving energy, and the horizontal, the parallel moving to the earth grid energy, the vibration has figured out how to, in a split second, mimic that, and it uploads, right? Because self, and it's not even self. Like attracts like is the dumbest way to put that. So if you can mimic very specifically, it's like a radio signal really quickly. If you can block that, seal that, or shift it in her, get your team to do it, because you still have access to her, it'll stay off of her.
Okay, so this brings up a few questions for me because I do block in my own way. I block and send things off, and I don't necessarily have I don't have something do it. I can just kind of do it. Is what I do is it's like everybody is I bounce them off like they're a trampoline, like I slingshot it off. I just slingshot away, but that brings because you said 23, so her mother is a heroin addict in Philly right now. So
Yeah.
is her mother doing what she's doing? Is that what's allowing it to creep back in? Because my daughter's a Gemini, and I see she's and on the human chart, or the human design, she is a manifesting generator. So she's another double. She is, so I'm battling what I can. And then, so I'll tell her things like if you clean your room, if you're feeling icky, because she tells me she feels icky. And she's had her own spiritual awakening where she was sleeping and I was meditating and we connected. And she told me, she was like, Dad, I finally get it. I finally understand everything you've been saying to me. And she was able to keep it off for like 2 weeks, but then all of a sudden it was back to the same habits.
Okay.
And that was like, man, that was like, okay, you know what? I just have to keep loving her no matter what. I can't she has to do it. It's her own free will that's letting it back in. Like, cause I'm battling and I'm,
Yeah.
like you sometimes you say you have a surgery team. Like I go and I'll have a sword and I cut through, different jungles or I'll be fighting an army, different things like that. But like I'm trying to do all these things, and it's like it just keeps coming back. It's because she's wanting it there for whatever reason. Now maybe it's because her mother is wanting it, and it's getting into my daughter through her mother. That's a
Yeah.
possibility.
So her biology will always be affected a little bit by her mother until she cord cuts that the example I use is if a garden hose in a backyard, we hook one end to source or wherever, right? And then we deliver water to a flower bed in the backyard. So how do we want to get rid of the access? We take the cord away, we take the garden hose away. So basically you have to pull that access center out of her, very specifically her left ovary in your daughter. Because whenever her mother psychically thinks of self or psychically thinks of herself, it's 1000%, because chakras, how I define them this is where the quantum reality lives in the human being. That's how I'm upload and download through the quantum reality. So if and there's so many science studies, you should Google this cloned tissue in one petri dish. If we touch it in one petri dish, the cloned tissue in the second petri dish will react. That exact same thing is happening in the human reality. So if her mother is self harming or self whatever, or psychically attacking herself, your daughter instantaneously, she's the second petri dish. It's not obviously the exact clone, because there's your amalgamations in your daughter as well. But we have to pull her mom out of there. We have to get rid of that access site. They're karmic implants. It's just implanted into her. So it's going to affect her biology. It's going to make her feel more free, more power, more embodied, and more autonomous. But we needed her mom to get her here. But now once we're here, we have to unhook. It's like we have to unhook from the spaceship, the original spaceship. We got to unhook, and now we'll take off our separate spaceship off into our own journey. Work with your daughter on it, figure out how to say that in words in which the two of you recognize, and then just go do it. Get her permission and go do it.
Okay, thank you. That's amazing. So, we kind of came in pretty hot here. Do you want to tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Right. I am Amy. I am an etheric surgeon. I'm a seer. I am here to help humans not suffer, because we have bought into being a human so deeply. Much more happens in our lives that affect our reality than just our body. So I started to be able to see inside people. Like I can just see inside people.
With your eyes open?
With my eyes open is way harder. With my eyes closed, it's way easier. But it started after a very traumatic experience with a passing of my best friend. And it walked a thin line of psychosis, right? On a daily basis there for a while, I was questioning if I had a hallucinogenic psychosis, if I literally broke. And all I kept hearing was a voice was like, no, you broke open. You broke open. You didn't break. You broke open. Every human has the ability to do this. Go activate them. And I'd be like, what do you mean go activate them? And after a while, when I would give people Reiki, I would touch them, and then I could see like even skinny people, I could see that they would have fatty liver disease. I'm now officially a certified medical intuitive, but I could see they have fatty liver disease, or I could see that they have gallstones, and just by like touching them and then pulling them out, like helping, it almost looked like 3D printing of new liver tissue. Or I worked with someone who was getting chemotherapy, and the chemo was doing one job. The side effects of the chemotherapy was doing a second job. So I would just pull that out. They never threw up once. They never had any of the side effects of chemotherapy. I just could see it and take it out. And it's almost like I have these hands that don't look like human hands at all. They just, if I touch the 3.5 feet around you, they project inside of you and I can pull it out. So I don't even have to really touch you. I just will stick a finger, I'll stick my hand inside of you and scoop it out. But you look like graph paper that has been constitutionalized in 3D reality. So how I tell the teams to do it over Zoom is we'll grid you out and they'll stick your body in it. And so I'll be able to see your median, and then I will be able to tell them if it's more proximal or distal, and then we'll start moving through layers. So like I could feel your neck, and I could tell them from the center of your neck, I'll be like, you have 2 over and then 2 in on your left side of your neck. Grab a hold, like zoom in on that, scoop and pull out. In a section of a human, if it's an energy block,
I think they're hearing you right now. They're listening to you because right when he said that, but it was on the right side of my neck that they're doing it on, not the left. But
so they'll pull if it's triggered to a memory, they'll take me back to when it happened, the memory, and then they'll show me in your body where the trauma occurred and why it's lodged in your neck. And so then we're going to try and pull out the root of where your trauma was, the emotion where your trauma was, so that we can clean your neck out. But you look like you're in the middle of a huge scaffolding almost, and there's tons of graph paper inside of you, and we just move in and out through grids.
Wow, that
Any of
is,
this makes sense? I sound
yeah.
crazy.
No, you sound very intelligent. You sound very knowledgeable. It's very precise wording that you use.
Okay. Because I don't, like earlier, like, you know how we have the 4 bodies, and I was like, I'm just shaking my head like I know what the heck you're talking about. I was like, how do we have so many more than 4 bodies? You all have
Okay.
so many things. You all have so many more chakras. And I was watching, and here's another thing that I'm seeing, and I was just talking on a different podcast last weekend about this. People who are coming online that are really becoming super sensitive, and they're turning on, their natural ability psychic centers, their chakras are these vortexes. Y'all are opening these things, and it looks like filaments or extensions or tentacles or dendrites or octopus arms are coming out, and you guys are touching the things around you. And on the end of these tentacle like things coming out of you is another receptor site. It's almost like you are absorbing so much information. And then you're pulling like little, it almost looks like biopsies, little tiny biopsies of your reality. And you're pulling it back in. And then I can see you all are trying to figure out, how do I activate myself this way? How do I turn myself psychically on this way? How do I see this way? How do I understand this? And if you're not doing spiritual support practices for your container to hold the fact that you're taking all these little biopsies off of people, like you're wearing other people, non-self information inside of you. And I have an idea as to why a lot of people do that, besides just trying to turn on psychically. If you're not doing a lot of support practices, it's triggering, what is that word? I'm drawing a blank right now. It's triggering that imposter syndrome crap happening. People are not feeling like themselves, or why am I not worthy? You're not wearing yourself. You have all these little bites of your external world now living inside. We got to clean this out through practices, through pranayamas, through my teacher makes me sweat every day, which makes a lot of sense. And I asked my team why sweating, because I need the science realm just so I can understand. And she's like, sweat has a very specific chemical composition of, you release a lot of chloride, sodium. So a lot of chloride, sodium channels release very specific purge in you. You have to sweat every day, 30 minutes, no matter what, for your sensitivity, because we are this electrical circuit. They're like, it just balances you. Don't worry about your weight. Don't worry about that. You just need to hardcore sweat. So we clear out these sodium ion channels very specifically in your biology. I'm like, okay, great. Let's do that. Anyway, back to this chakra stuff thing. So you know how people are like, I got to shield and protect me. I have to, so other things stay off you. I actually think it's a little bit different. You need to get off of other things. Pull yourself in, rein yourself in. So when you go out, like when I go out to like a grocery store or whatever, I have to pull myself into like a little ball, because I don't want to feel the suffering of the workers that are picking the fruit and they're underpaid. I don't want to feel the suffering of the animals that were murdered. I don't want to see what happened to how we got meat in there. I don't want to see any of it. So I have to pull me in. It works so well. And then also you don't get entities on you. Like,
Yeah, I do that often. If I don't pull myself in, and it's not even that I guess I'm not totally aware of when I do it, but I pull myself in, but sometimes I don't. And then all of a sudden I can feel things creeping up on me. If I make a a viral tweet, I feel things creeping on me. And it's because that's a piece of me that now it's my vibrational frequency that now someone can tap into. And as soon as someone thinks of me or says my name, I'm telepathic and I hear them. I can hear them reading my message in their voice, whether it's a text or a tweet. It doesn't really matter what it is. I hear it and I can communicate back to them. They don't know it's me for the most part. Some people are like, "Wait, are you hearing me?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, it is me." And it's funny that you said about the sweating because last summer, because of COVID, we had the lockdowns, and I was going to my local high school track, and I bought one dumbbell. It was like 30-pound dumbbell, and I was working out like a maniac. I mean, every single day,
Yeah.
working out, getting all the vitamin D, sweating, running the track for an hour and a half, and I would listen to music that was about Jesus. It's called "Jesus Is Born" was the album, and I'm not a Christian, but at that time, I just knew it was a very high vibrational album,
Mhm.
and the things that they're singing and talking about, the pitches that they're hitting, and just all of it was needed to activate me along with the sweating. And then I would need to meditate to finish up. But I was vibing at such a high level, and it was all triggered from the exercise, the sweat.
Yeah. Um, that's a huge purging symptom for people that I do etheric surgery on. Um, and it goes back. So if we remove energy blockages and people, sweating is usually one of the first side effects because it's taking potential energy. If we go back to the law of physics, it's taking potential energy. And to get potential energy in a container to kinetic energy or energy we can use, what has to happen? Heat has to be released. We have to put a pressure on it so heat is released and then we can use the energy. That is what usually happens. So people will get night sweats and they'll have or they'll, I have one beautiful soul thinks I've put her into menopause. Like I'm strong, I'm powerful, but I'm not like menopause powerful. Like night sweating is a huge one. Sweaty palms, sweaty feet, just sweat is a huge symptom that your container expanded and you purged something.
Oh wow. Okay.
Because
That's
energy is just flowing faster through you.
Yeah, okay. That's nice to know. You see, like I tend to know some of these things for me, just through experience, and it's not something that I hang on to and I can tell someone like, "Oh, it was exercise that did it for me," because I'm thinking it's like I know it's the sweat, but the way that you break it down scientifically, it's like, "Oh, okay, so I was doing that for more energy to come into me."
Yep.
Yeah, and I was fasting at the time a lot as well. So, instead of getting my energy from food, I was getting my energy from the sun because I'm sunbathing basically while exercising.
Yeah. I also like to exercise and run because it helps me to ground down. And I used to I used to hate when people or healers would tell me to ground down. I'd be like, why? I want to have all these superpowers or whatever. And I want to be all psychic or whatever. And now I understand if you cannot be of the earth at all, and you cannot be for one, the 12th dimension is located, there's a hub of the 12th dimension in the center of the planet, which I tap into. But if you
Hmm.
cannot be of the earth, then you will eventually you lose your ability to be empathetic and use that psychic power with people, but you'll also lose the ability to actually relate. You have to, like this transcendental healer or whatever, I don't like that word healer, as a transcendental activator that I do, I have to ground down because if you're like the humans are my clients, y'all are my client, and if I can't relate to you and I don't understand what you're feeling because I'm so up in my head or up in a different realm, what point am I? Because my goal is to every single person I work with is to literally activate them and teach them what I'm doing so they can do it on themselves immediately. Like I don't want you to depend on a quote unquote healer. I want you to understand that you are God. You are God, sovereign and free. And in this moment, as soon as you click that button and activate, and it's usually in your pawns, the back of your brain, As soon as you activate that, it's a game changer. But the difference is you actually have to believe yourself. You actually have to believe it.
Mhm.
And so when I do etheric surgery on anyone, I try to activate them fully and completely to the level in which their container in that moment can hold. Because I don't want to send anybody into a psychosis fit or into a nervous breakdown, or quote unquote what would be interpreted as a nervous breakdown because of the energy, the frequency of an emotion. But I try and activate them fully to the best of their fullest capability. Because none of you deserve to suffer. You deserve all the experiences, me included. None of you deserve that. You deserve to experience loss and love and sadness and all the things, but not the suffering behind it. Did your
Yeah.
girlfriend walk in?
Oh my God. Did you seriously just know that?
Yeah.
She just knew you walked in. She said, "Did your girlfriend just walk in?" Oh my goodness. So do you feel what's going on with me? Do you know like so
I can feel
since
your
yeah, since you said that, they
back.
started working on it, and as soon as they got to so when I said they were working on the right side, I guess they had to work their way over to the left side, and they said, "Oh, yep, exactly where she said it would be." And then they've been working on the back of my head, the top back of it since, and like my head's moving about. You see that it moves. It's because they're moving me. It's like a magnetic pull, and it happens to me. That's the main symptom is that they move my neck back and forth in order to, I guess, just like if a surgeon to get their best angle.
Right. Plus the alignment of your cerebral spinal fluid, if your bones and your spine uh, really need to be in a very specific alignment, because you're literally like a rod on the top of a skyscraper, keeping your bones in a very specific alignment so that your frequency can flow. They'll keep cracking you, but it's hooked into your low bowel. Do you have a bowel? That's too private. Does diverticulitis run in your family? Your low bowel, like your small bowel?
Uh, so
Diverticulitis is means that you have these pockets in your colon. You basically, yeah, in your large intestine, you have these pockets where seeds can get stuck in. Does anyone have like bowel problems in your family?
my mom.
Yeah, okay. I see
Yeah.
where it's looked in. Yeah.
Is
Okay.
there a way I could release her from
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. Take her out of your left testicle. Take and pull that program out. Yeah, because I see your colon. This would
Okay.
be neck. Are you and your mom close to each other?
We, I know we are like the same. So I mean, we are. I guess because we're so much alike, the old saying, "You're so much alike that you disagree all the time." That she has unresolved trauma, and I've been trying to resolve it by talking to her, and it's
That's why it's in your throat.
hmm,
Boom.
yeah, yeah.
That's your mom.
So what do you suggest I do? Should I not
Pull that out
talk?
of your biology. No. Let's first, like, you stay a healer or whatever, but first get your mom's karmic implant out of you. That diverticulitis thing, we got to get that out of your bowel. Google
Okay.
diverticulitis and just tell your team when they're going to go back in and do etheric surgery, that is something they're taking out today. We're done with this. So that, good Lord, you don't need this in your
All
life.
right. What's it called?
Diverticulitis.
Diverticulitis. Okay.
Yep, just Google it.
I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So you just uh so when I'm speaking to you, is this information you're just knowing or are you seeing and
I'm
knowing?
I'm seeing and knowing it.
Seeing it the same way that you see anything physical in front of you?
Yes, so there's different sets of eyes. So whenever my eyes are open, we're just having a conversation like this, and I'm not doing etheric surgery. So I'm not wearing your eyes. I'm still wearing well, I'm like, I can use my human eyes to see you right now on Zoom. but also there's a set of eyes looking inside of me that is just,
Right. I have that.
so it's like it's building you in here in my gut right now. So that's why I'm like looking inside of me and knowing, knowing that there's a change happening in me, that this is not me, that this is Todd. Todd is in there right now. I tell people that want to learn how to do psychic surgery to start practicing by when you're around your friends, before you become around a friend. This will be fun for you and your girlfriend to play around with, but you're already advanced in doing this stuff. Maybe if she wants to work on it. Sit and just get quiet and then scan your body like you have the stock gun at the Target, and you're just, oh, we have so many Charmin paper towels or toilet paper, whatever, just scan. So now I know what my bowel looks like, and now I feel completely all of me. I know this is me. I know this is me. Okay, I 3D laser printed me. Now I'm going to go and be around Todd, and eventually I'm going to see another laser. It looks like 3D printing overlay. And I can see self from non-self. That's Todd. Okay, now follow Todd in your own body. And that's how I just learned to be able to see into other people while my eyes are still open. And so I'm not like remote viewing. The other thing is I try not to see into anyone unless y'all need me to, but we're sitting here talking, so it's just naturally happening. I feel like it's a huge invasion of privacy.
Yeah. Not I don't mind, because it's just natural. It happens to me too when I'm talking to someone. I just hear their thoughts, and I don't tell anybody what they're thinking. I don't bring it up. I don't want to freak that person out, but it just happens. I can't stop it.
Yeah. I just really love people so much. I want to be as respectful as possible because every person is God. Like you have no idea how much I instantly love and adore you because you are divinity and you just look like, Todd or Mary or Jennifer. Like you are God. How can I serve you? It's the same way as if you were devoted to a outside deity. That's how I treat other people. How can I serve you? You're literally God in front of me. Let me help.
Yeah. I talk about that a lot on the show, that everybody is God. It's just that we're reduced to, like you said before, in order to become here, you have to fracture off. And an example I like using is, you see how small a keyhole is in a door. Try to fit your physical body through there. The amount that you'll get through there, that's the amount of, the equivalent from who you are to what you are in the human body.
Yeah, that's a good example. I like that. So yeah, that's what I do in my free time. I also own a yoga studio. I personally am closing my space July 31st. I'm moving to Florida.
July 31st? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I have somebody else going to take over. But I'm moving to Florida because I am going to open a healing retreat center, but real small. So people can come and stay in my house or wherever.
That's amazing, because that's what I've been telling my girlfriend since I
Yeah.
moved here. I said, we're making this a healing center. We're gonna fix this place up, and then we're gonna move somewhere else, and this is going to be our healing center.
Yeah. Yeah. Just so people can take a 3-day like rehab,
Hmm.
in human rehab, where we just reboot your system. Because I don't feel as though I've been in rehab twice for addiction, and that works so well. It works so well. Rehab saved my life. But I want to help rehab people so that they save their own lives, so that they never become an addict, so they don't miss living, so they don't miss out on this experience. So we quit harming the earth and each other, and we just become more conscious. Because I'm telling you now, when you start to hear and feel other people really easily, you no longer want to hurt anyone, because you'll see their side. You'll see why they're acting out as in hatred, or they're acting out in some of it's psychosis or whatever. But you will see the timeline, the trauma, and the walls, the hurt behind someone, and you just no longer feel anger at why they're, behaving the way they're behaving. You just want to hug them.
Oh, I
They're
so agree.
right.
And it's hard. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, tell
Uh,
me.
it, it's hard when you're talking to someone and they tell you like they were hurt by somebody, like my boyfriend did this to me or something, and then you're like, well, I can see why they did it. Like they're hurt, and it's hurt people, and it's like, I want to feel for the person in the moment, and I do feel for them, but I'm like, but I feel for that other person maybe even more strongly because I know that they're hurting so much, and it's like, you know, for me, I like you said, I don't like to go into somebody and do something to them without their knowledge. Unless I see it's something that's very dark and the person is very unaware, then I'll cut that off right away for to help them so that they can see themselves. But I want to physically, in the physical 3D world, I want them to make the free will choice of, have the information and then you make the choice and you do it for yourself. And you can do all the things that I can do, but, you do it in your own way.
Mhm.
So that's what I try doing for people mostly. But you come on here and you are just amazing with all the information that you have, and I mean you're blowing me away. And then you tell me that you were an addict. I was an addict as well. I think that might be not the addiction part, but I think traumatic events are a prerequisite. I feel that, like you said, you feel you're here for a mission. I know I'm here for a mission, and my daughter's here for a mission. I know the two of us are at least, and that we had to have the traumas, maybe not these exact ones, but we had to have some kind of trauma so that we could get to where we are now, where we're going to be very soon in the future, and so that we could have the understanding, so that we could help in whatever capacity that is. But we had to take the fast track to healing, which was bad traumas.
Yeah. Yeah, I would never have looked or tried to tap into uh, the light without that. I would have been so happy on earth, just, worrying about what Kim Kardashian was doing. And if I have expensive purses and shit, I could have just completely, without my traumas, I would have been so swept up in just the Layla, the play of earth. Because it's fun whenever it's hard being what quote unquote awoke or waked or whatever you guys want to call it. It's really challenging because you feel all the feels and you see all the things. And I never would have looked to God at all, or for a God, not God as in the Christian God or the Buddhist God or the Hindu God or none of that, just source. Unless I recognize that my best human thinking got me to be an addict. So I can't think with my humanness is not getting me out of this.
Well, and I think that's why a lot of people they say use the saying "I'm nothing without Jesus." A lot of Christians, and it's not necessarily Christians, but people who feel the Holy Spirit in them, and they get drawn to Jesus. They're saying, "I'm nothing without Jesus," and someone else hears that, and they're like, "What do you mean you're this?" And but the person saying it is like, "No, you don't understand. I made all these bad decisions, and as soon as I gave myself over and stopped fighting,
Yeah,
then it was like, oh, this is what I should be doing."
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's beautiful. I never have heard that phrase, but now I can now see what you mean. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's I try to learn several different disciplines. Like I try to learn from everybody in every different realm in order to understand everything from everybody's point of view and not get weighed down with one person's specific perspective. I like to learn from many so that I don't just think exactly, because I'll take on the personality if I'm learning, say if I was learning under you directly, then I
Mhm.
would take on your personality because I am a mirror, I'm a reflector.
Mm.
I don't have an inner authority. And I realize that, so now I use Jesus as my external authority because I know that's the only character that I know is who I would want to be in every way. So therefore, that's where I'm not a Christian by any means, but I've had powerful visions of Jesus and different things, and I'm not trying to get into that necessarily, but I just I can relate to exactly what everybody's saying in their own different ways now because I'm not taking, I'm looking to the external, or I'm not looking to the external, but I give my external authority to the one that I know I can trust because I didn't trust myself before when putting myself in all these horrible positions.
Right. Yep. That's beautiful. I love that.
So how did you go from being an addict to being where you are? So how long ago did you start to wake up?
So I was seeing ghosts as a kid. I was seeing entities as a kid. So I became an addict around 7 years old. And then I started to get clean when I had my child, which would be 19 years. But then I've had a lot of relapses. I had a massive relapse when my best friend died and I was activated. So I find it interesting how there are some psychics or some seers or some healers or whatever that cannot drink it all, and they have to be these clear channels. Meanwhile, my best friend died, and I was on a yogic Ayurvedic cleanse with a student. So I was on a khichdi cleanse and have not eaten anything but mung bean and rice for 7 days as a purification, with so that this individual could see his attachments to eating or whatever. And when my best friend's husband called, it was around 5 in the morning. The first thing I put in me was alcohol, obviously, like y'all know me. And then I drank every day, all day for 6 months. Wow, I immediately started seeing ghosts again. I immediately started to hear other people's thoughts. I was actively drunk and activated to an extreme degree simultaneously. So now I know two things can happen at once. So for anyone out there listening, thinking that their body, like, um, it's never going to happen to me, or this can't happen to me because I mistreat myself, or I'm not, nope. Divine intervention and awakening can happen at literally any moment. You do not have to be special. You do not have to have anything. I was so shattered in this moment, hearing the news, and then my best friend showed up in my house simultaneously that I literally just I split completely open because I was sitting there on the floor. I threw up immediately. I was talking to her husband and she's standing in front of me, and I lost it. I don't know if anyone listening has ever lost it. Like, I lost my mind. And in losing my mind, I activated every physical sense of my whole body because she
Yeah,
told me what happened. And I saw all of it at the same time. Like, this is my best friend. And I was like, don't die, don't die, don't die. And she's like, you don't even understand. It's so much better. So yeah, now I talk to dead people, or earthbound spirits. And then this team, these beautiful light beings talk to me all the time about people. And they say the nicest things about people. They are the most supportive group of the most supportive group of beings ever. They just have nothing bad to say ever.
hmm.
It's just pure beauty. Um,
So would you say you were 7? What did you become addicted to?
so at 7, I started to get addicted to exercising. And I developed an eating disorder around 7, but an exercise addiction. And
And
as
was
it
this
progressed,
I'm sorry, was this out of fear because you were seeing the ghosts?
Yeah, but because nobody was believing me. Nobody was seeing anything. And I grew up in this really tiny town in Pennsylvania. Nobody was seeing anything. Nobody understood me. And I grew up in a Christian family, not busting on that religion at all. It's beautiful. Um, but nobody believed me. And so then I became the pathological liar. And then there's this whole like, I'm bad, I'm innately bad. What is wrong with me? Rage built, this unbelievable amount of anger and rage built. And then I just started exercising and I would work out constantly. And when you work out constantly, you eat constantly because you're hungry. And so then I started binging. And then after a while, when I got into high school, then I started taking, drugs to amphetamines, meth, anything to keep me up, awake, and running. For one, I didn't want to see any ghosts. I didn't want to sleep. Mania shut everything off. And eventually just, I was in full-fledged addiction that's all I thought about. And if that was all I thought about, I didn't care what anyone else was thinking. I didn't care. But it's very scary as a kid to be able to be able to hear what somebody else is thinking. And
So you had that ability as well? Man, that's tough. So you were born very spiritually connected.
yeah, I definitely came here on a mission. I
Wow.
definitely came here on a mission.
See, I don't see ghosts or anything, and I think it's probably to protect me because uh maybe sometime in the future I will be able to handle it, but I always felt that was the one thing that I was, I tell myself I don't have any fear, but that was the one thing, like, how would I react? Like, that brings me to fear.
Yeah, it is in usually now I can feel them before I see them. And even now, um, you like I'll breathe, I start to breathe heavy and you can hear my team, they're like, calm down. If you don't calm down, calm your heart. They're like, calm your breath, calm your heart. And they immediately come in. So I know I'm not alone. Like my team immediately will come in and they'll be like, let's breathe together. We're gonna breathe. And then a ghost will show up at my kid. My kid, I have a 19-year-old, and he's like, I don't want to see them. I don't want them around me, but they're there. And they'll move things in our house. And it freaks my child out so deeply. And I wish you all could ask him to tell these stories. But one night we were sitting, I have two matching couches that face in towards a little coffee table in my living room. And then our TV is up against the wall. So theoretically, we could both lay on these couches and face the television, long wise. Anyway, we took the pillows off the couches and we lined them up along the wall, this television stand or whatever, because I have an exorbitant amount of pillows and obviously a pillow consumption problem. But they were leaning backwards. Instead of straight up and down, like perpendicular to the ground, they were leaning backwards onto the wall. And we were sitting there, and I also plants on my television stand. A huge section of these one flowers on this one peace lily were pulled down and held down and then let go, and they flung. And my kid just looked at me and he's starting to shake his head. He's like, oh no, what's there? And I'm looking at him like, Austin, I actually don't see anything. Like they're literally not showing up. They're just messing with the plant. I can't see it. I can't see it. It's not coming through. And then we're sitting there. And then our couches our pillows that are leaning back like this, two of them stood straight up, balanced, and then fell forward. And my kid gets up. He's like, that's it. I'm out. And he goes to the basement. He's like, I don't care what you do, get them out of here. I don't want to know that they're in this house. And they'll come in and they'll mess around in my home for a little bit, and then they'll leave.
Wow. So I see the clouds, and I see spirit in the trees and all physical creation. So I'll see a face in uh, the trees, but it's not just like, oh, I see a face. Like I see the spirit. It's just being projected onto the physical atmosphere, I see them and I am visited. I get a lot of spirits coming to me so that I can help them pass on to the other side, and I get a lot that are attacking me for helping them pass on to the other side. So I'm very, bombarded with energies all day long. And so instead of seeing, if I was to see a human figure, see, that's one thing I don't see, but I had several times in my old apartment. I had very weird instances right after I got my cat. So she runs and she'll like, she would always run right next to my face, jump on the top of the couch and then jump off. But so she would always do that. And one time she did it and she jumped off the top of the couch and all of a sudden, uh, I had lights, a light, strung along the side, and it just fell down, and and as soon as she was like right at the wall, like she jumped at the wall, and something must have been there, and it went through the wall with such force that the lights fell down, and then she took off. She's like, "Oh shit, I'm out of here."
Parkour.
Yeah,
Parkour.
yeah, she's parkour. Yeah, she's so it's actually a samurai. The night before I got her, I had this big Buddha poster, and I had this samurai in golden armor knight me, both shoulders and then my head. And then the next day, we came across her, and the like 2 days after that is we got her, and the samurai entered her. So when I have dreams where me and my daughter are these light warriors, and our cat is a samurai, and she is like, but it's a he, the samurai, but she's a female cat, so I say she. But she always has a sword and the armor, and my daughter and I were like Super Saiyans, like Dragon Ball Z, like Kamehameha uh, type thing through our hands. We're defeating whatever there is, or like I can sit there and I'll meditate and I'll call in this light, and it'll just destroy whatever I want to destroy, basically.
It's awesome. Yeah, light is the most responsive element there is. It comes the second you think of it. It responds to you. It will do what you want.
Yeah, that's amazing that you have all of these different stories. So, what exactly happened with your friend? You said as soon as she died, you saw her in front of you, and her husband is on the phone with you saying she's
Yeah,
passed.
she had chronic Lyme disease, which was so bad. She was misdiagnosed for 5 years and then finally properly diagnosed. But chronic Lyme is not just the Borrelia or Babesia, I forget what pathogen it is, but it's a spirochete. It works in a very similar fashion as what syphilis does. And a spirochete is a parasite that burrows and hides. So it just like how syphilis burrows in your brain tissue, it will make people go quote unquote crazy. So does Lyme, but Lyme burrows in joints. It burrows in knees, joints, the brain. And it also takes down your immune system. So you get co-infections, parasites, worms. Um, it puts your body into like an anaphylaxis. It puts it into
Mm,
an extreme response. And she was in incredible pain, incredible pain. Um, but in her pain, she was a student at the Edgar Casey Center simultaneously in
oh wow.
PH, right? So this girl was extremely advanced psychically and powerful. She's a very powerful person. And one day she called me, and this was before she transitioned, and said that she died. And this was obviously before I was back awoke. I was still a yoga teacher. I was still doing all these spiritual teachings or whatever, but I wasn't actually experiencing it firsthand. So you can
Mm,
practice things. You can practice theory. You can practice, um, what somebody else explains or tries to teach you. But if you're not actually experiencing it firsthand, it's not really truly embedded in you. So when she was telling me that she died, I immediately wrote her off as having a psychosis, like a break, because it's in her brain. She had a ton of brain problems because of this. And then what proceeded after that sentence was unbelievable, pure channeling of what happens to consciousness when we leave a human form and the parallel realities that are overlaid on top of this earth grid right now. And I was listening to her, but writing it off. And then I went home. About 2 weeks later, I'm in my kitchen and I'm standing at my counter and I'm cutting up vegetables, making my kid dinner. And I turn around to go grab spices and she's standing in my kitchen. And I quickly turn back to the counter because it's very scary to see somebody standing there that's not in physical reality. So I turn back and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. Here we go. And I pick up my phone and I was going to call her, but I didn't. Instead, I just sent her a text and I was like, are you okay? And all she said back was, just send me love. And then the next day, she left.
So what did she look like when you saw her in your kitchen? You said she wasn't physical.
No, just her full form, but you could see straight through her.
So she was transparent. So it was her white body.
She was just astral projecting.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And I think she just came to say goodbye. But anyway, since then we talk all the time. And I feel I made this pact with source, with consciousness, because when she left and she came that first moment to tell me, listen, this is what happened. I had to go. It's time for you to start to heal people. I didn't hear from her for a while at first. And that's just because she got really busy. Obviously, her consciousness had to go through its systems checklist once you unite back into the collective. But I talk to consciousness, like source, all the time. I was like, I don't know where she is. I'm coming to find her. Do whatever you got to do. And literally, I just talked to God, whatever, all day long. Like, you got to go get her. You got to go get her. Where is she? Take me. Like, and I would sit, even though I was drinking, I would sit and meditate, and I would do anything to go find her. Because I'm like, she's my best friend. She was my person. She was my person. Like, I loved her and still do. And so I went and found her. I was like, I don't care where we go. I will go to the scariest place. Because I had no idea. I didn't know, like, if the Christian religion was true. And if you take your own life, if you go to hell, that's not accurate at all. But I was like, I don't care. I'll go. I will go to quote unquote hell, but I'm going after her. Just like that movie, What Dreams May Come. I'm like, I would go anywhere. Just go get her. And we did. My team was like, okay, fine. You will have the ability to find her. And now I can go find people.
Wow. That is
But I didn't give it an option. I did not give my reality an option. The only option I wanted was that. And when you truly remember you are sovereign and that you are God and that you create your entire reality timeline experience, when all of your energy gets on the same damn team, anything will happen.
wow.
Anything will happen.
So the way that I see things is how we operate. Most people, we're in the center usually of who we could be, either from the poles, as good as it could be or as bad as it could be, in a sense. And that we're usually somewhere in the center, and that some versions of us die off as we make choices and are like, well, that's no longer an option. They die off. And I've been centering myself. So it seems to me like what you were saying you were doing was that every version of yourself you were putting towards this one goal. And because every single version of you was doing it, it then became reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a beautiful way to explain that. I am all in. When I tell you I am all in, I am all in. This is what I'm here to do. I will help humans. I will help them. I'll help them. And if and Sherry is now part of my team, not my guides, but my team. Um, if being able to communicate with her, because I also want to be able to communicate with my parents and my partner, my child, and if God forbid he transitioned before me, like I want the ability to talk to the fourth dimension now. I am not waiting to leave. I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting. I want it now. And this is what is fine. I'll help the humans, but that's my prerequisite. I have to, in order to heal humans, then I also have to be able to move through the dimensions without losing my body, right? So that just comes with it. Fine, give me that, I'll heal humans.
So did you forget that you used to see the ghost like through your addictions,
Yep, absolutely.
and then you
Absolutely.
saw her and that triggered it
Yep,
essentially?
yep,
Oh
yeah, absolutely.
wow. So, I don't remember ever seeing things, but I remember always being afraid of my windows at night as a child. I was
Yeah.
afraid of my backyard, and I have these memories and dreams of being abducted. And do you ever hear of a 20 and back or a 15 and back?
Oh,
When it's alleged that your consciousness gets transferred from your human body while you're asleep to another vessel. I'm not sure exactly what,
yep.
and that you're gone for 20, what we call years. You're gone for 20 years, but you're only gone for about 20 minutes of this time, and your consciousness is just transferred over, but you're a slave for different entities, which I just take to mean humans. Whatever. I
Mhm.
don't want to get too into details, but I see that it's humans that are doing this to other humans, and I have memories of five of these 20 and backs. Well, it was what it was, three 15 and backs, no, two 15 and backs, and three 20 and backs that I have memories of, that I've been remembering now for the last year and a half. I'm very strict with the way I meditate, and not in what I'm meditating on. Like if I was to focus my energy like you did on one specific thing, I bet I probably could exactly do what you did. But I go in with a broad spectrum of, I want to explore me. I want to know everything there is to know about me, and these are the memories that come about.
Mhm.
So you know, if if I have one day that I see a ghost and then it triggers a memory, it's like, oh, that's why I'm afraid of looking outside. That's why I was afraid of the basement. You know,
Yep.
uh, and I feel very strongly that it was what people call grays or reptilians. That is, uh, that they were the ones that were taking me, and it wasn't always in a bad way. Sometimes I was on their team in a sense, that I was in charge of some humans.
Mhm.
Like they indoctrinate into that way because they show you your memories. Like, oh, you remember you were a slave. Well, now you get to be the person who, you get to whip them into shape because you've been here 4 times now. So you got the lay of the land, and
Mhm.
now you get to enjoy, just like a fraternity. You get to do the bad things now.
Oh God.
Yeah, but it's like you're powerful. Like it's Stockholm syndrome, basically. Your abuser is now teaching you to abuse, and saying you're powerful for it.
Lord.
Yeah, yeah. So I would be terrified if that happened, but I don't remember ever seeing ghosts. I remember when I was a child, I used to be able to like uh, not tweet, whistle to the birds, and I felt like they would respond to me.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's sweet.
Yeah. And now, now that I'm very spiritual, I connect with birds, and I connect to my physical environment. One time I connected to a tree and I pushed out all the negativity out of it. And at the same time, I saw a human falling out of my head, like it was losing grip, and he was falling, and then when he fell, all of a sudden a big old tree branch fell right on top of the roof of the shed that I was under when I was meditating because I pulled
That,
it out.
whoa, that's so synchronistically insane. Wow.
Oh, I have stuff like that a lot. I've had my the electric in my bedroom pop while meditating, and I'm seeing a giant beam of light coming down to me, and then the electricity just pops.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So I can connect to the physical environment. So like I do communicate with the birds, or sometimes it's insects, sometimes it's plants. I don't really necessarily know what I'm connecting with, but I know it's all alive and it's all me. So it's just different parts of me. It's very cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. So I have two more little quick questions here for you, if you
I
don't
know,
mind.
I have a session in 15 minutes.
Okay, okay, okay. One, can I just ask you how you keep yourself grounded?
Yeah,
Uh, you know,
absolutely.
uh, uh,
I use, I hook my Merkaba into the center of this planet. I use a tether line into the 12th dimensional hub, which is below, like the center of the core of the earth. Um, so yeah, I anchor my Merkaba into the 12th dimensional hub of this planet and just have a through line, so I can kind of feel Earth. Uh, and it helps me also hook into other humans that way, because if I look at humans as though they're the nerve cells of the planet, and if you were to think of, if I was to pinch your arm in one location, if your eyes were closed, you had a blindfold one, and I was to put a needle in your arm somewhere, you would immediately be able to triangulate their location and feel what's happening in that section of your appendage. Well, humans are nerve cells, the where we operate as an appendage of the earth. So if I can anchor into the center of the earth and I can kind of feel what's happening on it, so I can find people that I'm going to work with, not just psychically, through the higher energy centers, but if I root down to earth, I can feel them from the bottom up. So I activate what's called a 12th dimensional shield.
Ow.
Yeah.
Well, that
There's some really
that is
cool
amazing.
12, because I operate, I work on an activated 12-strand DNA system. There's some really cool YouTube videos, meditations you may like to explore. One is by oh, come on, I'm having a brain fart. Um, just Google 12-strand DNA activations. There's some
12
really
string.
cool meditations to do. They take a while though. They take a good 2 hours to do. So just be ready to sit.
Oh yeah, I used to meditate for like 3, 4 hours at a time.
Yeah,
I haven't done it in a while though, but
there's some really
yeah, it's
cool.
amazing. So I want to thank you so much for coming on to my podcast and kicking ass the way you did. I mean, I was just floored because usually, honestly, usually, I when I come across someone, I'm I'm kind of like, okay, let's see who's more powerful here, and like I just have a feeling that like you said earlier, you said you see me inside of you. I can see you outside of me, and it's very new. It's different. So that's pretty
Cool.
awesome. And I see something behind you, which is you, just a larger version.
Okay. They're everywhere. I,
Yeah.
I come with an entourage.
So is there anywhere that you want my audience to find you at?
Sure. You can on Instagram, I am a laughing spice. And then my website to book sessions is virashanti.com. It's virashanti.com. Vira Shanti means um, infinite power of peace. And one of my teachers birthed me that name, which is really cool. So virashanti.com.
Well, I mean, it sounds perfect for you.
Yeah, I think that you're going to be doing what I do very soon. Very, very soon for people.
Well, I for sure would love to be able to know the things you know and do the things you do, and it's just amazing that
Thank you.
like just everything that you know already, you know, I would love to be able to do a little bit of that. You know, just to have some kind of awareness, because with me, I don't want to get too long-winded here, but with me, it's just I have to just trust that what I'm getting is correct. And the more I trust it, the more I see that it is correct.
Yeah.
But it's with you, I feel like you've been doing it, so you have experience that matches it, and you have the scientific knowledge behind it, and obviously now you're allowed to do the medical intuitive, licensed medical intuitive. That's just amazing in itself. So obviously this is a real thing that the medical industry or the medical field recognizes.
Yeah, a lot of people do. Yeah, absolutely. Which is, yeah, my next goal is I want to turn on my ability to help solve um like crimes. I want to work with the police department to be a psychic for the police department.
Oh
That's my
wow,
next goal.
that'd be so cool.
Right, that's what I'm working on. I want to be able to touch like a shoe or something from like a missing child or somebody and
Oh
help
wow,
find. That's what I'm trying to activate so fully. Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm going to stop the recording here. If you don't mind, don't hang up. I just want to say something at the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, everybody listening. And I will have all the links in the show notes, and you know where to find me. I'll tell you in the intro, you know, all my stuff. But I want to thank you so much for coming on. I mean, this was such an honor, and I am just floored with all the information I got to learn today. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right, all right, everybody. Bye.